What is up, everyone? Today I'm bringing you with yet another match, GSC Neverused, the tournament of which I already posted the two first matches, and I just want to make two shout-outs quickly before we get to that. First, to the Ruins of Alph room and the community of Pokemon Showdown that is dedicated entirely to classic generations, from 1 to the last generation preceding the current one, that is Generation 7. So if you guys ever want to play some old gens, by all means go there, and you'll find plenty of people that will give you a lot of information on how to get good at those. We have tournaments every day, like this one that I'm showing here. Second shout out will go out to Wave Shaper. Homie, man. Huge. I'm freaking really happy for what you guys did, because Wave Shaper basically gave me, on behalf of the Ruins of Alph community, voice in the chat room. Now that doesn't necessarily imply that I'm a moderator or anything, but I guess it's just a recognition for some of the things I did, and I really appreciate that. So, without further ado, let's get on to the game. Here we are, everyone, with GSC Neverused, the finals of a room tour, Ruins of Alph, best room, as of recently, Academy Award winner for baddest asses that you can find on Pokemon Showdown, and the most experienced veterans like the pirate99, also known as the goat99, Earthworm. I'm using the team from that you've seen in the last video, and while this was a tournament with 8 participants, and a lot of the room tours may have some experienced players, other times the players are few and far between, but I'm taking on one of GSC's finest, and we're making sure that this beautiful tier gets a showing of its own. Now, to start off, I have Pineco as a lead, or Pineco, however you guys want to pronounce it. But I predict my opponent's Fire Blast. It's actually a very interesting lead to use Weezing here, and I'll tell you why. Because sometimes people would switch to Xatu, so you can already get some damage off. Alternatively, if they do switch to Xatu and you don't click a move that gives that much damage, opponents like to double in or switch into their dark type. In this case, it would be Murkrow or Sneasel, but my opponent in this case doesn't have it, so. A double whiff. Beautiful. In this case, we're trying to hit each other with Thunder, as a para can actually be crucial, and we're both running Fire Blast and Thunder. Okay. I might have to fix this 1 second.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
Okay, so what can I say besides the fact that I'm throwing Fire Blasts at my opponent and it looks like a battle between black mages. So I try to switch into Xatu, and the pirate99 manages to predict my switch into Xatu, so he throws in Rock Slide. Alternatively, I could have switched into any other flying type. So going back here, I try to switch into Corsola, which is a relatively decent wall, at least to rock type moves. Dissuades my opponent from trying to stay in and trying an Oko with Earthquake, or a 2-hit KO, I suppose, in this case. Then I switch into Dugong, so I basically double into Dugong, but my opponent brings in Primeape. So that actually threatens me really badly, so I have to bring Weezing, who is the dedicated wall to Primeape. Primeape's really threatening because its speed ties with Xatu, and let's say an unhealthy Xatu may struggle a bit to take on Primeape. So my opponent will bring in Dugtrio, as it's the natural counter to Weezing, although it doesn't manage to 1-hit KO. In this generation there are no abilities, so that means Weezing doesn't have Levitate and doesn't have that
otherwise crucial ground immunity. So it's weak to ground, and it takes about 56 to 60 damage, and I will show why this is important later. So we're back to our black mages fighting each other. So just an important thing about the moveset, usually you're going to run Fire Blast, Thunder. You could run Sludge Bomb, although there isn't really that much you can threaten with Sludge Bomb. A reason why you might want to use it is because of Zatus, possibly. You can poison them, force them to eventually have to be worn out, and then use Rest, which obviously puts your opponent's offensive mon in a situation where they have to gamble each time they want to attack, so that's good. Here I went for a Thunder, even though I know my opponent keeps on switching in on Dugtrio, and the reason is because I want to predict any Zatu switch in, which could be a bit of an issue. It's all about decision making here. The other move that Weezing would have is Explosion, of course, and then alternatively as a fourth move they can have Pain Split, if not Sludge Bomb, Haze even, that can be pretty good against certain Meditate, Primeape users, even the occasional Growth, Baton Pass, Flareon, so yeah. But obviously Fire Blast would have been very crucial here. And his Dugtrio is putting in a lot, and I mean a lot of work, because I am kind of struggling to find out what to do against his Dugtrio. I'm not really sure 100% about the damage calc, so I'm trying to test everything out. It's a new tier, and I'm not saying that I'm a pioneer. I know a thing or two about it, but guys, whenever you're trying out a new tier, run those calcs, because you'll figure out things even mid-battle, and like I did here. So I bring in my Dugong, which is pretty bulky. You guys already know I really like Rest Talk Dugong, so Rest and Sleep Talk manages to wall out most of the special metagame. So as a defensive core, Dugong and Weezing together are actually quite reliable, although Dugtrio can be a bit of a hassle. The reason for this is because Primeape doesn't know Earthquake, unlike most of the fighting type users you might see in the upper tiers. So that's actually really helpful. Otherwise, this would have been anything but viable against Primeape. So I'm fishing for a freeze here, and I don't get it. And I'm not sure as to the choice in using Rock Slide, perhaps to preserve the Cross Chop PP. And look at this, I could have used Fire Blast and I probably would have managed to kill Dugtrio here. If Thunder hits, we don't really know because it went against a ground type, but let's assume it did hit. Then Fire Blast most likely would have hit as well because it's higher accuracy. So the roll would have been one that implies Fire Blast hitting. Probably, I guess. I mean, I'm not really an RNG expert here, but so just remember this turn here, turn 20, because this is actually really important, and I'll get to it later. So at this point, it becomes obvious that I have to switch into something else, so I go into Dugong, and I get an unlucky flinch. So on to the next turn, and I bring in Corsola. So my opponent has Sludge Bomb here, and at this point that would force poison damage each time you switch in. Every turn that means 12.5%. That's an eighth of your entire health, so quite crucial. But I managed to Toxic his Primeape, so that's pretty good. And here he brings in Dugtrio. I go for a Fire Blast, lucky me. And this is like a 90% one-hit KO if he goes for the Earthquake here, which he does. And here I realized the crucial thing, and that's that Pineco gets 3-hit KO'd by Dugtrio. That means I can switch in, take a hit, and throw my spikes in. And so I could have thrown in my spikes at turn 20, but maybe even sooner than that, and this whole Dugtrio wouldn't even have been a problem. That's 10 turns of spikes damage, which would have forced my opponent to think on his feet a lot more than he was. And it would have, well, with the damage racking up over time, that obviously forces your opponent to make certain decisions, reveal their team, and giving you a lot of leeway. Technically, offense is like a form of longevity. People don't like to talk about, people always consider spikes not to be particularly great maybe in Gen 2 because you only get one layer, but that 12% of damage, it really racks up over time. So consider I could have thrown spikes, I'm not going to check now, but around like turn 10, that's 10 turns. 10 turns times 12.5 is like more than 100% of damage, regardless of the Pokemon. So definitely mattered. So I figured this out. Bug resists Earthquake, but even if he had chosen to use Rock Slide, and I didn't get flinched, so that would have been very crucial to know, especially because I can always threaten an explosion here. My opponent might not know that I have hidden power or something. So here I switch into Corsola, which probably reveals the fact that my Pinecoat doesn't have any attack, and I have to sack it. Why do I have Corsola? Well, because it's pretty reliable. It has Toxic, it has Recovery. It's not very offensive, but a move in Recover and a resistance to certain prominent attacks like fire type attacks or normal attacks is really good. So that basically forces your opponent to reveal an Earthquake if they really want to be threatening you, or in the case of Magmar, I don't know, Cross Chop, or Thunder Punch would probably be more something to expect here. So Spike's late game doesn't do you as many favors as it does in the early game because your team is weakened, and that means that your opponent will probably be less
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
prone to switching. Also, I ran another calc here. My Dugong 100% would have survived if it were not for that critical hit, meaning that I at least would have forced my opponent to use Surf or Ice Beam a second time and win a speed tie with me, win a 50-50. Or that person would have, or the pirate99 Earthworm would have considered simply using Rest. So I lose my wall here. And I write it, that crit mattered because it does like 11, 14% tops, and I was at 16%, no spikes damage, that means I can come in. But I'm gonna trade, essentially. I take out his Dugong with my Xatu, and as you see, my Xatu doesn't have any leftovers. I'm using a Thief variant. I'm not sure I could say that it's very reliable. So I sack my Weezing because it's not all in all faster than the rest, and it's weakened to the point that it can't necessarily do much. Maybe not an entirely agreeable choice, but yeah, the match is basically over. My opponent has a fast Stantler, does a lot of normal damage. It also has Earthquake, so I'm basically screwed. Flareon is really slow, and Growth Baton Pass isn't exactly so reliable. So the only thing I can do here is Kerplode, and now I have to get extremely lucky. But Magmar, like I write here, beats me because Magmar, in the case that I had a Rest Talk Xatu, it still would have been fairly evenly matched. I'd at least get one hit for free and then be able to use Rest. But in this situation, I'm weakened, and Fire Blast almost kills. Also, they have access to a move that guarantees to do at least 30 or 40% with Thunder Punch. But Magmar doesn't have any form of reliable recovery. I suppose you could run Rest Talk, but yeah. Anyway. There you go, 43%. I don't have anything to kill it with besides my Psychic Stab attack. So I lose. Anyways, GG. To this day, in any battle I've done against, I've had against Earthworm, I haven't managed to take to win against him. That's no surprise, but I think this one was close. There was another one in Neverused, which was also pretty close. I haven't been as close in Overused, I confess, but this was quite a lot of fun for me, especially doing this video. It's been really a long time coming. Because I released the last video such a long time ago. And I've been helping people out with certain team building aspects. I hope that this video gives all of you an idea of what this tier might be, what this meta is. I think it's actually really a lot of fun. So, in any case, GG's. And props to the Ruins of Alph. I love you guys.